stone pressed cold against Xeona's back. The rock was massive, an ancient slab torn from the mountain's spine long before memory, and it sheltered them just enough to break the line of sight down the tunnel. Xeona crouched low, one knee planted, fingers resting lightly on the hilt of his sword. He breathed slow, shallow breaths, measuring the air as much as the sound. Ahead, faint echoes moved. Boots again, measured, unhurried, too disciplined to belong to anything born above ground. The dark elves passed through the bend in the cavern like shadows given weight. 3 of them. Tall, narrow silhouettes wrapped in dark mail that drank the light instead of reflecting it. Their helms were open-faced, angular, cruelly elegant. Pale eyes gleamed beneath the stone's dim glow, scanning the tunnel walls, the ceiling, the ground itself. They were not merely patrolling, they were searching. Xeona narrowed his eyes, angling his head just enough to catch fragments of their speech. Low, sharp syllables shaped by a tongue that tasted of old stone and deeper places. He caught a word here, a tone there. Frustration, impatience, something missing. Behind him, a whisper, too close. "Told you," Han muttered, breath thick with restrained fury. "Should have finished the last ones we saw. Dark elves never walk without reason." Boric hissed softly. "Lower. Your voice." Xeona's jaw tightened. Another whisper, this one sharper. "You hear how they walk? Like they own the stone. Makes my beard itch." Boric shifted, armor creaking despite his care. "This isn't the time, Han." Xeona closed his eyes for a heartbeat. Stone, sound, breath, focus. He strained to listen again, but the dwarves' murmurs gnawed at the edges of his concentration like dull blades. One of the dark elves paused, just for a moment, head tilting, listening. Xeona lifted his hand slowly, palm back, a silent command. "Stop." Han leaned closer instead. "If we wait too long..." Xeona turned his head sharply, mouth opening to whisper. "Quiet." He never got the word out. With a sudden snarl that tore the hush apart, Han surged to his feet. "For the deep halls!" the dwarf roared. He burst from behind the rock like a thrown hammer, axe flashing as he drove himself forward in a reckless two-handed thrust, aimed straight at the nearest dark elf. The shout echoed violently through the cavern, rebounding off stone and ceiling, shattering any hope of subtlety. Time stuttered. Boric's eyes went wide. "Han! No!" Too late. Steel rang as the dark elf barely managed to twist aside, the axe scraping across dark armour in a shower of sparks. The other 2 spun instantly, blades sliding free with practiced speed, faces hardening into cold, lethal focus. Xeona stared for half a heartbeat, disbelief freezing him in place. "Idiot!" Then instinct took over. "Move!" Xeona barked, already stepping out from cover. Boric lunged after Han, cursing in his native tongue as he brought his shield up and charged, hammer raised. "You stone-headed bastard!" The element of surprise was gone, but not entirely wasted. Han's wild charge had cracked the rhythm. The Dark Elves were reacting now, not hunting. Their formation was broken, attention split, blades meeting steel instead of cutting unseen throats. Xeona closed the distance fast, boots pounding against stone. His sword came free in a clean, efficient draw. He angled left, slipping between Boric's shield and the tavern wall, blade flicking out in a precise cut aimed at a dark elf's thigh. The elf hissed as steel bit flesh. For a brief, violent moment, it worked. Han hammered at one opponent with relentless fury, axe force rising and falling like a grudge-given form. Boric fought beside him, shield locking blades aside, hammer striking with brutal compact force. Xeeona moved like a shadow between them, each strike measured, economical, no wasted motion. The Dark Elves retreated a step, then another, then they adapted. One of them, slender even for his kind, armour etched with faint sigils, raised a hand instead of a blade. His lips moved in a whisper that crawled along the stone like a living thing. Xeeona felt it before it happened. "Down!" he shouted. Darkness exploded outward. Not the absence of light, but its swallowing. A sudden absolute void slammed over them, devouring the cavern's glow, the outlines of bodies, the very sense of space. Sight vanished, as if torn from their skulls. Xeeona staggered, vision gone, instinct screaming. "Boric!" Han yelled somewhere to his left or right. Distance meant nothing now. "I can't see," Boric snarled. Steel clashed blindly. A blade hissed past Xeona's ribs, close enough that he felt the air split. He twisted, back pressing to stone he could no longer see. Sword held tight, breath slow despite the chaos. Darkness pressed in from every side. The cave had closed its eyes, and somewhere within it, the Dark Elves were still moving. Darkness ruled the cavern. Not shadow, absence. A crushing, unnatural void that stole depth and distance alike. Xeeona could not see his hand before his face. The world had collapsed into sound and breath, and the cold press of stone beneath his boots. He froze. Moving blind in a place like this was death. The Dark Elves did not share that weakness. He knew it with a certainty that sank into his gut like ice water. They were born to the deep places. Darkness was not an obstacle to them. It was a weapon. For the first time since the cavern mouth, fear touched him. Not panic, not dread. Real fear, clean, honest. Even their young were lethal in the dark. He had seen it before. Surface folk cut down without ever seeing the blade that killed them. He tried to listen, to feel the space around him, to read the air the way he did the forest. Nothing. Stone swallowed sound. The spell pressed inward, smothering instinct. Then, Han broke. A ragged roar tore through the black. "Come on then!" Metal shrieked as the dwarf began to move. No, thrash, swinging his hammer in wild, brutal arcs. Left, right, overhead, again and again. The weapon whistled through air, struck stone, rebounded, struck again. Sparks flared unseen. The echo slammed into the walls and came back doubled, tripled. Han was breathing like a bellows gone mad. Each breath loud, desperate, uncontrolled. Boric shouted his name. "Han! Stop!" But Han could not hear reason anymore. He had surrendered to something older than tactics, older than fear. Pure dwarven fury. Xeeona grimaced. Madness, but dangerous madness. The Dark Elves had not expected this. Xeeona could hear them now. Not clearly, but enough. Quick steps, repositioning, the scrape of boots halting, circling. They tried to close in, blades ready for a clean kill. They couldn't. Han's hammer filled the darkness like a storm. There was no pattern to exploit, no opening to slide through. Any step toward the dwarf risked being crushed by blind, unstoppable force. "By the stone," Boric muttered, half awe, half horror. Then, thud. Han's hammer struck something that was not rock. Something hollow, solid, deliberate. There was a deep click, low and resonant like stone acknowledging stone. The cavern answered. A grinding sound rolled through the darkness, massive and slow. Stone shifted, Something ancient moved within the walls. Xeona's breath caught as the air changed, pressure shifting around them. A mechanism. So that was it. The thing the Dark Elves had been searching for. Han roared again and swung once more, hammer crashing against the same hidden point. This time the sound was different. A terrible, crushing slam followed by a wet, sudden silence. Then, light returned. Not gently, not slowly. The darkness spell tore away as if ripped from the cavern by force. The world snapped back into shape. Stone walls, scattered weapons, shattered footing. And the sight made Xeona's eyes widen. 2 dark elves lay crushed beneath a massive slab of stone that had dropped from the wall like a guillotine. Armour folded, bodies broken, blood spreading dark across pale rock. The hidden door had opened and closed again. Only one dark elf remained. He stood frozen, pale face drained of all colour, eyes wide in disbelief. His blade trembled in his hand as he stared at the crushed remains of his companions. Xeona exhaled once, slowly. A thin smile touched his lips. The same smile that always surfaced when death sharpened the world into clarity. The dark elf saw it, and understood. They circled each other in the dim cavern light. The elf recovered quickly, too quickly to be dismissed as a mere patrolman. His stance was perfect. Blade angled low, feet light. He struck first. Still flashed. Xeona met it, parried, stepped inside the arc, drove forward. The dark elf was fast, very fast, his blade flickering like a serpent. One cut slipped through, biting into Xeona's arm. Blood ran. Xeona did not slow. He did not even look. Boric sucked in a sharp breath. Xeona! The ranger pressed harder instead. Raw force now. Relentless. Every strike meant to end the fight, not win it prettily. The dark elf retreated, eyes narrowing, surprised at the sheer refusal to yield. A feint. A twist. Xeona stepped through the opening and drove his sword forward with both hands, straight into the dark elf's chest. The impact lifted him off his feet. The elf gasped once, soft, almost confused, before sliding down the blade and collapsing at Xeona's boots. Silence returned. Real silence this time. Xeona stood still for a moment, breathing hard, blood dripping from his arm to the stone. Then he pulled his sword free and turned. Han stared at him, beard wild, eyes wide. "Well," the dwarf said after a long pause, wiping sweat from his brow. "I was gonna say you fight like a cornered wolf." Boric snorted despite himself. Han grinned, teeth bright against grime. "But I reckon wolves might take offence." Xeona sheathed his blade at last, the smile fading as quickly as it had come. "Next time," he said quietly, "you wait." Han scratched his beard. "Aye," he said, "maybe."